Start out at North Fork, as we usually do. Right after the briefing yesterday, we received the results for the lead and copper sample that was taken from the source water at North Fork. It was non-detect or negative for lead. It did include a trace amount of copper, but that was well below the action limit. As of this morning, the turbidity at North Fork was 15.5. That's about a tenth of a point increase from yesterday. In fact, I think yesterday was the first time in several weeks that the turbidity didn't fall at least some. Third round of reservoir treatment continues today. I don't know exactly how long that's going to last. It's all going to depend on how much aluminum sulfate and caustic soda is left. They're going to treat until we are out of it. North Fork's capacity to push treated water into the system has risen to more than 20 million gallons a day. Army Corps of Engineers pre-treatment system, the private contractor for that project, continues constructing that operation. Materials, equipment are arriving daily, and contractors are working 24 hours a day and will be until it's operational. Nothing has changed with the timeline for that. Still late November, early December. Our DeBrule treatment plant in Beetree, we continue to coordinate with Army Corps of Engineers, FEMA, and the United States Geological Survey for debris removal from that reservoir. That's obviously a slow and sort of tedious process that does not happen quickly. That plant does remain offline, though I will reiterate that we can pressurize the entire system with North Fork and Mills River. Every City of Asheville water customer remains under a boil water notice. In the absence of bottled water or water that has been purified, any water intended for consumption should be boiled a minimum of 1 minute beforehand. And before gathering that water to boil, it's advised to run your cold water faucet for 30 seconds to 2 minutes or until you feel that temperature change in the water. This EPA recommended flushing practice can reduce potential lead and copper presence in the short term. Staying on the boil water notice, I know I mentioned before that there is a sampling process that will have to happen before we can lift that. And due to reduced turbidity levels in the North Fork Reservoir and our capacity to push treated water into the system, we've been able to feed a sufficient amount of filtered water into the distribution system without blending it with raw water. The last time we used raw water was last Saturday afternoon. It was a very brief period, a couple of hours. And so we've been pushing nothing but treated water into the system since I think that was like mid-Saturday afternoon, if I'm remembering correctly. So almost a week. The mechanism that we use to push raw water into the system will be taken offline beginning tonight. The use of treated water combined with customer usage has given us data that we feel is sufficient to reach the conclusion that the system has, for the most part, turned over, and the vast majority of raw water has been replaced with treated water. Because of this, we are at the point that we can begin the sampling process to potentially lift the boil water notice, and that process and the plan was developed in conjunction with the EPA and the DEQ. That sampling process will start tomorrow. I believe the total number of samples that our lab staff are going to have to gather and analyze is 120. And so based on our daily rate of about 40-ish samples per day, that sampling process should wrap up late on Monday. Those bacterial samples have an incubation period between 18 and 24 hours. And so by Tuesday afternoon, evening, next week, we should have a pretty good idea of the health of our distribution system and whether or not we will be able to lift the boil water notice. So that process will happen this weekend. And we'll have, like I said, pretty good idea Tuesday night after those samples incubate for 24 hours and we can analyze the results about whether we can lift the boil water notice. Water Resources feels it's important to begin taking this step now instead of waiting for the Corps of Engineers pre-treatment system is online. That is not because they are behind schedule or anything like that. They are exactly on schedule. The timeline that they gave us in the very beginning has been followed pretty much down to the minute. Thankfully, their turbidity has decreased in the reservoir due to the in-reservoir treatments, which allows us to take this important step. Lifting the boil water notice will allow residents to resume normal domestic water use and for businesses to operate unrestricted. There still remains a low chance that turbidity will increase due to unforeseen events such as line breaks, weather events, or heaven forbid, another natural disaster. If that happens, we may need to reinstate a boil water notice, but at this point, it is our best estimate that this is not going to occur. So that's my update for today. I know you will have questions after. I do have Brenna Cook, our compliance manager, with me again today. So feel free to ask her the hardest questions that you have. Thank you.